All right, the brand new xTool F2, portable, small, faster than the original F1, price savings compared to the bigger units, lots of amazing features. Let's jump on it. So really quick, this is the F2. It is a galvo laser, meaning it has a fixed point and it can go at all the different angles as opposed to a gantry unit. These machines are superior for engraving. They're just crazy fast, and you can engrave all kinds of things. It can also do cutting. You can see some cut projects in here, but this is an upgrade to the original F1. So the original F1, it was a 10-watt blue light diode laser. This is up to 15. Sometimes when I was cutting with this one, it would flare up, had some issues. That extra 5 really made a lot cleaner cuts. We'll get into that. The other difference, this was a 2-watt infrared. Now it's 5-watt infrared. So a little bit more power for engraving metals, non-organics, silicone leather, really deeper engraving, some really cool stuff. And the biggest one, there's a camera. So there's a camera in there, so now you can do batch processing, a lot more features, embossment, some really, really cool stuff. So for this video, we'll really briefly do an overview of the machine, but really gonna jump into applications and projects. So many things here, let's jump in and see how it performed. So to start off, we're going to go actually a little bit slower. You can use the timestamps if you want to skip on ahead, but adding the device is really simple. You just go ahead and add it. The software is fantastic. We're actually going to talk about the software later in the video, but right here, I've just gone ahead. I'm using the camera. That's how quick it refreshed. Look how fast that was. Now I'm just doing a business card. I usually like to start with those, and you just go into the material library, you select it, and it already pre-programs a ton of parameters. You of course could do your own settings and test files. I found I really didn't do that with this one because all of the settings were already locked in from xTool. Here I'm just doing a simple scoring pass. Remember, this is a blue light, the diode, and the infrared, and so I'm starting with just the blue light and just gonna run it just with its pre-programmed settings. Again, I probably could tweak this a little bit, but up and running, start, hit the button, and that's how easy it is. So if you're new to xTool lasers, it is really intuitive, it's seamless. So that flame, don't worry about it, that's just a blue light. And that's just, it's a little bit more aggressive. Usually we use that on organics. So I would recommend infrared on things like business cards, but you certainly can. There's actually a different color variation with the different lasers, but it's pretty intuitive. So here, just seeing the difference between the two, it's that simple, just switch it over. Now it's doing that 5-watt infrared light. And then you can compare them. Oh, it's a little bit different. We'll get into some color matching and some color orientation later. Having that little right angle clamp just makes it really easy for repeatability. You can actually push the start button 2 times and it'll just repeat the project over and over again. Here I'm doing just my business card. I've got little QR codes with the different things and just different colors. I'm just repeating it over and over. And so you can do batch processing this way. We'll show some other ways shortly as well, but some great quality, whether you're engraving or scoring. You can even do detailed pictures on these cards as well if you wanted to. A fun project I like to do, especially with these galvo lasers, is the scratch paper. Kind of like the thing kids would take a little wooden pencil and kind of scratch out the cool art. Well, it's just removing a little bit of that coating for some really, really cool images. If you're going to try and do this, I do recommend inverting your image. It just makes it pops better, especially on that black background. But you get some pretty high detail. It's really cool. Same process for these slate coasters. Slate coasters, I've loved using the original F1 for to get these really detailed pictures, graphics. You can even do some AI design here, like my little Seahawk with a Space Needle in the background. We'll talk more about these as well. Lots of anodized aluminum blanks. You could do luggage tags. These are really quick, kind of like the business cards. There's just no shortage of blanks out there that you can buy and you can customize and engrave. Here's an old knife I just had lying around, and oh, it was an anodized handle. So I just applied a cool, you can see it. You can see the pattern right there. I don't know, that looks kind of cool. And then of course you can change the settings for the blade itself. You can engrave blades. You can engrave the handle. You can engrave anything. Really, that's the beauty of this machine, especially the fact that you have both the diode, the 15-watt diode, or the 5-watt infrared. So yeah, you can see that anodized aluminum. Just, we did a little bit of a cool pattern on that. So a Damascus steel pattern on the handle. But fun. I don't know. You can do really, there are limitless possibilities. The machine performs well. More anodized aluminum. You know, these little slimline wallets are so great. I love engraving these. These are really popular gifts. If you're, you know, going into the holidays looking for some things that are quick customizable, it's great. You can even do full on images, you know, if people want it customized like that. You can do dog tags, anodized dog tags. Of course, you could do full on stainless steel and do color matching. Right now, I'm going to show you another feature that is awesome about xTool. It's the curved surface engraving. So you see this flask, it's curved. And if I just engraved it normally, it wouldn't there. You can see I'm using the curved material feature. It's going to automatically measure. That's going to auto adjust the height of the laser right here. You can see that 3D map. I could even throw in my design here to see what it looks like. This is just really simple in this free software to ensure that we have accurate engraving, especially where it dips. It doesn't, you know, lose any of the power, and it's consistent. It just creates a higher quality engraving. So you can even do images here. Again, I didn't play around with the settings too much, but you can get even more detail. You can do more contrast, all kinds of different things. But, you know, anodized aluminum, anodized steel, pretty cool what you can do with that. And so, like I mentioned, there's just so many different blanks out there, great customizable things. If you're looking for some gift ideas or if you're looking for sales ideas, again, you can do this, you know, in person at a craft show, make it really simple. All right, here's another great feature. Now that we have the camera, you can do the batch fill processing. So I can put multiple blanks of the same size, the same type of blank, so these keychains in there, and the camera is going to frame out one of them. Then I add in my design for one, and then it's going to automatically apply that design to the other ones. You can even do a different design. So there's the possibility in the software, if I have a bunch of small, you know, on the F1, you couldn't do big things. I could put a bunch of small things and it'll just repeat that design for all of them, even if they're, you know, rotated and they're not all perfectly set. Of course, some folks like to make their own jigs or a fixture, I should say, where you put things in place just for that uniform repeatability. However, I think this is a great feature and really streamlines the process for you. So there is the test file library. However, I do like to do my own settings, especially when it comes to metal. This is some 304 stainless steel, and I could keep adjusting this to even get some colors in there. But you can see there's different levels of gold and silver and black. Look at this one right here. You can kind of see it at just the right angle. You can see some purple, some pink, some blue, some greens. So based on the speed, the power, also, you know, frequency, and there's some other things, you can even achieve some color engraving on stainless steel and some metals. So that's a possibility. Not the full colors you could get like with the F2 Ultra with the MOPA power, but you can still kind of play around with it and get some different colors, different contrast if that's what you're going for. And of course, with that 5-watt power, you can get the darker engravings. And so here I have actually a stainless steel blank I cut on the xTool metal fab. Here's a little medal, an award, and then you can bring it over here onto one of the Galvo lasers. And if you preset your settings, figure out your colors, you can do some color engraving. Here's a little beard comb keychain. So, I mean, again, obviously blades, there's so many different really cool metal blanks that make great, keychains or, bottle openers, some really, really cool ones. You can do all kinds of things, but here you can see, I just went with the stock metal settings. This was really fast. You saw that was real time. If you're gonna do the color engraving, especially that deep dark engraving, it does take longer. So this is a fast machine, but if I want the deep darker, usually that takes, there's a little bit of rust removal there. But you can see, I could do stainless steel business cards. Some real possibilities. No need for marking spray with this laser. So here's that stainless steel blank. You can see I have that dark black. I also have some gold, some silver. You can have fun with it. And so price point's a lot lower than the MOPA. You can't do as much, but there's still possibilities. Same thing with brass here. These are just the settings, the stock settings from xTool. Quick. This was a really quick engraving on brass. I wanted to play around to see if I could get it darker. Obviously, the darker engraving just means slower more power. So it does take longer, but you can do deeper engravings. I didn't have time in this video to do any of like my embossed brass coins, but I did some really cool brass coins with the original F1. So I'm sure you could really play around with that. And the embossment feature is here, and there's more IR power. So definitely worth looking into. All right, cork. I mean, cork, you know, is actually pretty underrated. It burns really well. It engraves really nicely for, you know, a set of coasters. It's pretty affordable. You can do big trivets, other things. I really love the contrast on this. So I just used the craft paper stock settings from xTool on this one. Here's some cool coasters where it's marble, stone, and wood. And here I'm engraving in the stone the drawing of a mountain peak. And then down below in the wood, I'm engraving the mountain name, the elevation. There's a lot of possibilities here on what you could do with that. I think that's pretty cool. We'll show those a little bit closer later. You can also do silicone. That's a great thing about the IR. We can easily engrave these, you know, Apple Watch silicone bands. They even make some that, you know, it's like rainbow colors underneath. So lots of like silicone lunchbox type things or tumblers and whatnot. Lots of possibilities. More materials. Here's some leather patches. Here is a, you know, leather patch that it engraves, and you can go to silver. Here's a, you know, leather PU. Type of leather, faux leather. You can do an air tag holder. Here you can see the flame. It's because it's the diode. The diode laser does do a little bit of flame, but it's perfectly safe. There is all the fire sensing capabilities in here if you've got a real flame. Lots of great safety features on this one. But leather, leatherette, whether it's patches or keychains, I think that's a really fun one. But again, one of the cool things about this machine is really you're not limited to materials. You can do just about all of the materials. And I really like leather. Most of this is faux leather. You know, I have shown in some of my other videos real, you know, legit leather, you know, top, you know, rawhide, all that good stuff. Anyway, here's a video if you want to look more on these hat patches, can talk about sales ideas, but you can use this machine for that. Okay. The slide extension. This is an awesome accessory. xTool had this out with the original F1. I use it a ton, and it is compatible with the F1, the F1 Lite, and now the F2. One thing about cutting, it does cut at an angle, so you see there's no soot. It cut really clean. That extra power, you can. Here's a time. Let's be realistic. This is mostly engraving, but it does take a while to cut out something like this. So I want people to be, you know, realistic in how fast it is for cutting. But you can cut. It's not flaring up. It's not flaming up. And I got great results cutting. But it does cut at that angle, not perfectly straight down because it's a galvo. But yeah, I mean, you could cut out some layered signs like this. You could paint it, and then you could assemble it together like here. I've got lots of videos on this process. Really fun, really fun. Also with the conveyor, obviously engraving. You can do engraving, that's that same scratch paper you saw earlier. You can do long panels, you can do family portraits, longer ones. We get great results, really clean. Of course, you can go for different effects with the setting. There's a lot of different scratch paper with different varieties. You could do some cutting boards. So there are some cutting boards that are, you know, 4 to 5 inches wide that you can find a blank like this and just customize it, you know, with the family crest or just different, you know, cheese board, charcuterie board sayings. Can do holiday style. So this is a really simple one where you can just buy some blanks, engrave it, or of course customizing. I think that makes a fantastic gift. And this machine you could do, you know, in real time at a show and have people be able to customize, you know, maybe with a split monogram for their family. But great results. That 15-watt power, you got much better results than the original one. So I definitely saw some big improvement there. Higher quality engraving in the wood. All of these are like acacia boards. Here you can see those coasters from earlier. You can see really great results. And yes, you can cut even without the slide extension. It comes with that little attachment. And so here you can see I'm cutting out some ornaments, some layered ornaments. And here, again, it can cut. It is going to cut a little bit at an angle. So it's not perfectly straight if you're planning on a project like that. But here you can see how that blue light is cutting right through and all that smoke funnels out. That purifier works really well. But here's a look at the finished product of, you know, the ornament and that little sign. All of that made on this F2. So you can still do some cool projects. It will take a little bit longer for cutting. But yeah, you can see, again, that smoke, it's just going straight on through that purifier. It works great. Works really, really well. But yeah, clean, a lot cleaner results than I got on the original F1. Pretty cool. So who is this machine suited for? Really want to talk about that a little bit before some more projects. This machine is obviously for anyone. This is probably the simplest, easiest one to get into lasers. If you have no laser, or maybe you have a big one and you want some portability or you want some speed, I think a great combo is if you have a bigger CO2 or a bigger diode, having one small one like this is so nice and portable. I've taken it to my school, used it with my students, done STEM nights. I've taken it to craft shows, done it there. You can do in person, take it to family's house. We bring it inside and we do all kinds of projects in our home. You know, just this little desktop purifier is plenty. There's some other purifiers xTool makes, but I think this is great, you know, price savings as opposed to these other ones that can be about double the price. But you got some of those features that you didn't have before with the original F1. It's portable, it's great. And so I think these are really handy. They're very intuitive and easy. You know, my kids use them a lot. All the safety features as well. And so I think small business, if you don't have any laser, this is a no-brainer. This size is just perfect to engrave all kinds of things. You know, I'm a woodworker. I've made a lot of cutting boards and all kinds of really cool stuff. We engrave, you know, we can engrave on the side of the boards. We can do all kinds of new possibilities by removing that base plate. Lots of other cool stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's a great investment for a small business, or if you're a maker and you want to do a little bit more, you know, branding and yeah, cutting and creating, but especially engraving and adding those personalizations. Huge, huge. So speaking of makers and businesses, you could even do your own branding. You could do the craft paper setting and brand bags like this. These are some cool little jewelry boxes. I didn't play around with the settings too much, but you know, you could actually get a gold effect. I've shown this with the M1 Ultra and the hot foil pen. Well, you don't even need to mess around with that. You could engrave it and get kind of a goldish setting here. So there's some cool ones like this where I don't know, it's kind of a rustic look. So you can do some branding of your own things and your own packaging. Really take it to the next level. Of course, you use craft paper to create ornament holders or ornament tags. Speaking of ornaments, here these are very popular in the laser community. If you do any social media, your feed's probably blowing up with these. But there's lots of possibilities where you could do them and engrave the glass balls and then do paint on the inside. You can do different contrasts. I could have used these in the Rotary, but just wanted to showcase, yeah, you could do some ornaments like this, just using a tape roll. I could have played played around a lot more with this, but just some ideas and possibilities of what you could do. Obviously, lots of ornament customizations. If you have the blanks with you already on hand, you could do that at a craft show. Really, really simple. All right, I was testing out the Rotary attachment, and so just doing a powder-coated tumbler here, just messing around. This is the new RA3 Pro. The RA2 Pro works as well. The RA3 Pro is amazing. It is awesome. It's just so much faster as far as all the changing things in and out. Here I did a normal setting with the blue light, and then I went back with the infrared as a cleanup pass, so I didn't have to do any kind of cleanup. But here's how fast it is. You just pop that thing off and you can just rotate it. It tightens in place. No need for screwdrivers whatsoever. And then you just plop it in. There's a lot of other features we'll show in a little bit with this Rotary. You can even adjust it. You can tilt it, but there's a lot more. But it's really simple to use the Rotary for tumblers. And here, go ahead. And again, here is a PNG. And so if you do a PNG, it's going to actually change the settings a little bit to give it more variation instead of just like an SVG file. But really, really cool results. All right, I want to talk accessories just a little bit. So obviously, if you get the machine, you're set, you're good. Probably the biggest accessory I would get is, some kind of purifier, whether it's a desktop purifier or the AP2, which is much more powerful, really eliminates a lot of smoke. Or get an inline fan, and then you want to pipe it out of your home, out of your window. The IF2 by xTool is amazing, works really well. You just don't want to breathe this stuff. The other thing is the button, right? So to adjust the height, it's right here on the side. To start a project, you do it on the computer, but then you have to push this button. That sometimes is a little, temperamental because I push it and maybe I jostle things. So xTool came out with this little just like one-click button that you can plug in and just a little tap. But what's really cool is this was from the F1 Ultra. Also, they have one on the F2 Ultra and all of that. This little touchscreen is so nice because I can raise it and I can lower it, I can frame it. I can do a lot more things with here, and I can push the button so I'm not touching the machine itself. So you could get the more affordable option of just the click. This one, it is a bit pricier. I think it's like $130-ish. But if you have one from one of the other machines, it actually works. It just will upgrade the firmware. And so this is really nice. This is an add-on that I do recommend, at least getting the button so you're not like coming over to hit it. And then that other great feature for that, repeatability is just that double tap. Well, it's so much easier to double tap here. Other accessory you saw, it is the new RA3 Pro. What's nice about this one is you can just pop the thing out. All of these are magnets, so I can just slide this in and out. I don't have to get like with the RA2 Pro, which works. If you have an RA2 Pro, it's still compatible with this. That's great. But the RA3 Pro, it came out with the P3, but it works. It's compatible with this F2. These magnets are just so easy to pop in and out. It just makes it really quick for changes. You can plop this on your tumbler, drop it in. Drop things. There's a lot of other accessories if you want to do the roller. There's a built-in, you can tilt. I didn't show it as much here, but you can definitely do rings and all. It just makes things so much faster if you're going to do the tumbler. And then, of course, other accessory is that slide extension. It quadruples the space. So not only can you engrave longer pieces, it's a cutter, right? So the F2s, that's just a conveyor. You can't cut longer. On this one, you can cut longer. And so like I was able to do, this sign, you could go even longer. You can also put in jigs here to do batch processing if you wanted to do that. But it's really simple to do. You can do longer pieces. I think this is a great add-on for this machine, specifically if you're working on those type of things and you want to do some longer projects. So those are a couple accessories to consider. There's of course more. Check out the link down below to look at some of the accessories. But, again, it depends on what you're doing. But for sure, you need to figure out some kind of purification or smoke evacuation, especially with the leathers and, the acrylics. You don't want to smell that stuff. But some other accessories. So you can check those out. So real quick, I want to talk about the software. If you are new to xTool, it is easy. It is straightforward. It is crazy intuitive. If you're well, I want to show some of the upgraded features. One thing I will note is in all of my videos, I usually do lots of different tests, right? On this machine, I did hardly any tests just because of all the one-click settings. So let's say I want to do brass. All right, they already have some settings. Now I did do some tests because I wanted to try out darker, but like let's say I want to go, to wood and I'm going to do some basswood. All right, we'll just apply the settings. Yep. Awesome, safety first. And now we can see all of their tests already to know which parameters work great. You might still do your own test settings, but it's all there for you. And so you have all the different things, it's really simple, it's really easy. Now XCS, xTool Creative Space, has now just been rebranded to xTool Studio. There's some cool new upgrades and features. One thing you'll notice with the F2, we have all of these attachments. So there's even a setting for the base plate removed. Of course, different design batch processing. So that's the cool thing. I can do the same design, but I can also change it to have different design. So if I want to make a jig here and fill this with a bunch of keychains, but I want each keychain to say something different, you can do that. The slide extension. Embossment. This is huge. I did not have time to do that in this video. I've done that a lot on the F1 Ultra, but with the upgraded power, you could do that. Definitely check out my videos to see more on that. But all the different features are just right here. Anyway, really simple, really easy. Of course, they have their own AI where you can create and generate all kinds of things. Lots of really cool stuff in here. Lots of ones that I've done in the past. So you can see all that cool stuff here. Software, simple, easy, designs. In most of my videos, I do like to give a quick shout out to this website. It's called Creative Fabrica. This is where I find most of my designs. Now, normally these designs, if I bought a bundle over on Etsy, it'd be like $2 to $4. Well, this is a website called Creative Fabrica. For $4 a month, you get unlimited downloads, which is just like a no-brainer. Most all of my videos, you can see a lot of these different ones. Also fonts, right? So you can add a bunch of really, really cool different fonts in here. Super easy to download into the xTool software. But all the PNGs, all the graphics that you'd want to engrave, so many options. Lots in here. And so if you use my link down below, you'll get 10 free downloads. You can just check it out, see what you think. And, if you want to, you go ahead and sign up. It is an affiliate link. We get, a little bit on each sign up. So just full disclosure there. But it's a great resource. So check that out. Creative Fabrica, some really, really cool designs. And again, it's unlimited downloads as opposed to individual purchases. So check that out. So this is just like 2 days worth of testing. This is not an extensive test, but look how much I was able to do in just, a couple of days, an hour here, an hour there. You can do so much, so many more possibilities with this new machine. All right, folks, there you have it, the F2, not the F1, the F2. It's awesome. If this video provided value, if you want to see more videos, the tutorials on how I do these things, some other ideas with lasers and other maker type things, consider subscribing. I've got a lot of content, especially on lasers the last couple of years and all of the possibilities. You can check out those videos and see upcoming videos, more on this. And I know a lot of you have seen this. I mean, I was very deliberate. Yeah, the F2 Ultra UV. It's coming out soon. I can share more about that in the future. Lots of other things. I'll have, some upcoming reviews on all the different machines, but projects, especially this holiday season, we'll jump into projects. Okay, well, this is the F2 video. Really, it is an amazing unit, and I just think it's a great buy. If you want to learn more about it, use this link. This is our affiliate link, this code, or down below. If you end up purchasing through that link, it gives my family, we get a small commission, helps support my family. It's how I'm able to make these videos. There are some bonus coupons just associated with that link if you use it. But yeah, definitely check it out. Check out the website, at least learn a little bit more about it. And yeah, questions. What are some questions you have that I didn't answer in this video? What would you hope to see in future videos? Other ideas? If you're looking for a tutorial on one of these, I can direct you to a video I already done, or maybe I incorporate it in an upcoming tutorial video on something. So comments, and we'll integrate it in future. So thank you for watching. I really hope it added value. It's a pretty awesome little machine, small but mighty. There you have it, the F2. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.